he, you know, checked through my phone, saw like discourse between me and this guy, you know, so he's clocked, okay, there's someone that she's close with. But he asked me and I told him the truth.
You admitted?
I admitted it.
Why?
Because at the time, that was the right thing to do.
In that moment, was your husband in your mind?
Yes, but not in terms of, oh my gosh, why am I doing this to him? It was more like, oh my God, he better not find out about this because he'll lose it.
Did you want more kisses? Did you want it to go further at that point? Welcome to Off the Record, a platform for individuals to speak their truth, discuss their thoughts, and own their stories. We will be having candid conversations where we will be dissecting various events and asking the questions that we're all eager to know, and hopefully coming to graceful conclusions. I'm your host, Mide, the one and only. Let's get into it. Today, we are joined by a young lady who shares her story of young love, betrayal, and infidelity. Welcome to the show, Lois. Welcome. Hello, girl. Hey, you're looking good, babe.
Thank you, honey. You know,
How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
How
are
was
you?
your I'm very well, thank you. How was your journey in?
It wasn't cute. You know, I was on the hot, steamy train.
Oh, yeah, it's been a hot day today, isn't it?
Yes, it's been very hot.
Yeah, but you
and
look
I had
good.
the wrong jacket as well. I had a big brown jacket.
Did you not check the weather?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
Well, you look good anyway.
Thank you. So do you.
Got it together. Thank you,
Thank
baby.
you.
Thank you, baby. Tell me a little bit about yourself before we get into the core of this interview.
Okay, so my name is Lois, like you said. I am 32 years old. I am a teacher.
Okay, nice.
Yes, I'm a teacher. I teach secondary school students.
Oh, how's that?
Which is hard work, but I love it.
Okay.
I love it. I do. Also, I'm a mum.
Oh,
I'm a mum. I love my little girl. She's 7
Mummy's
years
club.
old. Yes, honey. I love my little girl. And I do dance as well.
Nice.
Yeah, so as well as teaching, I dance as a hobby. Kind of just helps me feel alive.
How would your friends and family describe you?
Funny enough, someone described me the other day as gentle, you know.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, thank you.
That's nice.
Yeah, I've learned to become joyful though.
So you weren't initially joyful?
No.
Okay.
No.
That's a nice word to describe yourself
Thank
as.
you.
Lois was married at the tender age of 22 and then separated 5 years later after cheating on her husband with her work husband.
Oh, God.
Girl, obviously there's several layers to this story, but let's start at how you met your ex-husband.
I met him when I was 15.
Okay.
I met him in church.
Oh, okay.
I met him in church, yeah. We were part of a big youth ministry, quite a thriving church. And yeah, he and his family came. My family always grew up in that church because it was a Ugandan church. Yeah, I met him when we were 15. We hit it off, we were friends. And then we realized we started liking each other. We started going out when we were 18. And then we just fell into some level of sin, you know. So there was some premarital sex that started. That was when the conversations around marriage began, because it was like, okay, we need to honor God as much as we can with what we have.
Okay.
You know, young people, you know what we're like.
Yeah.
Can't keep our hands off each other. So it was just a lot of young, fun, energetic love where it was like, I just can't be away from you.
This conversation of marriage was introduced. Was this by your parents, by the church? Who introduced the conversation of marriage?
It was by the church.
Okay.
It was by the church. My mum actually was against the idea of me getting married.
Okay.
She sat me down and was like, girl, you sure you want to do this kind of thing? She was like, you know, you're still young, you know, you'll meet people out there. But I was too bold, like proud, thinking, yeah, I've already met who I need to meet. I'm good, like I'm all right. So yeah, I can do this. I can get married. I genuinely thought I had the tools required to make a whole lifetime of marriage work at 22.
So you started dating at 18.
He was my first ever anything, by the way.
Okay,
I'd never been with anyone else.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
okay, fair.
First
And
kiss
then,
as well.
First kiss.
First kiss, girl. I remember being nervous to lips, like, I don't even know what to do. Like, he was the first everything.
Well, I guess if you're under the umbrella of church, then it just makes sense for you to marry this person that you're involved with. So would you say that you were forced into marriage?
I wouldn't say forced. I would never say forced, but I would say heavily influenced.
Okay.
Yeah, because there were certain conversations that I had, you know, with the powers that be that were very much like, you know, you need to honor God with your relationship. And I remember being advised, like, you can even get married and still live in your parents' houses, but at least you can have sex freely. You know, so already unorthodox, like, ways of trying to make a relationship work were being presented before we had even got there, you know. So we were just heavily influenced, but I can never say that anybody made me walk down the aisle. I did that.
Yeah.
I did that.
When you got married, what was the relationship like with you and your ex-husband?
It was great at that time. It was great, as in, again, young love. We're finally like, we're together, we can do this. Well, I moved into his mum's place with him, so that's where we were. So for us, we were just happy to be together, because it was like, now no one's going to get onto us, no one's going to say anything, we can do what we want. And we were like the first in our generation at that time to even be in a relationship, as in of our age range, and then to get married as well. So we were like spearheading all the rest of the marriages that happened after.
Okay.
Yeah.
At what point did your marriage begin to go downhill? Can you pinpoint?
2 years in was when I started to feel like, uh-oh, what have I done?
At this point, you're 24.
I'm about 24.
Okay.
Looking back now, I can say, oh, our emotional regulation was different. Because I got pregnant when I was 24 and we moved out just before little one was born. Yeah, at that point, I remember feeling like, I don't know if I want to do this with him anymore.
And did you voice that?
No.
Okay. And why didn't you voice that?
I'm pregnant now.
Okay.
I'm in this. Her being born exasperated the issues that were already there. The truth is we were just both exhausted. We are not seeing eye to eye after we've had little one.
When you say you're not seeing eye to eye, what exactly does that look like?
Okay, I'll give you one example. I remember one point where I was like, I don't want to be with this person anymore. We were also youth pastors.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
so there was quite a lot of responsibility that we had from very early. And I remember there was a day, you know, after church where he was talking to a young person, you know, the young person had disclosed something quite deep. So it was a long conversation that they had. I had little one in my arms, you know, she's tired, she's ready to go home. So I'm kind of like, babe,
Yeah.
you know. But when I walked in, obviously I've walked in on a very sensitive moment. So he's kind of spoken to me in a way that's like, no, not right now. But I remember I just felt so disrespected, but I don't think he even meant it in that way. I just took it as, how could you talk to me like this? I've got our child, we need to go home, we're tired. But again, it was just a difference in communication. But I remember when we argued after church, that was the first time I was like, I don't even want to be with you anymore. And I remember voicing it and thinking, oh, I actually said it out loud.
You said it to who?
Him.
Oh, okay.
I said it to him and I remember he didn't say anything. He didn't say anything and I remember just thinking, oh my gosh, I've actually said it. Like, he's aware now. Yeah.
Walk me through the process of where you were mentally and what led to you actually stepping out of your marriage.
I was at a point in my life where I'd realized the big commitment I had made. And I realized that this is a for life thing. And I realized that I'm at the mercy of this person hopefully changing, and he's also at the mercy of me hopefully changing. And if we both don't do it, this thing just really isn't gonna work. I was a mom, I'm a teacher, I'm a youth pastor, I'm carrying all these different heads that are making everybody else feel better, but not necessarily me. I just felt unseen for a very long time, is the only way I can put it. I can't necessarily blame him for that. I think a lot of it is to do with postpartum depression as well. You know, I felt a loss of self. That's what I felt. And so when I've met this guy at work, he's like this cool kid, like fun, chirpy, happy. He's everything I'm not. You get it? I'm bogged down. Life is serious, difficult, whatever. And when we started talking, it just felt like for the first time someone was interested in me.
How did your husband find out?
He did his searching. Okay. He clocked a couple things. He, you know, checked through my phone, saw like discourse between me and this guy, you know, so he's clocked, okay, there's someone that she's close with. But he asked me and I told him the truth.
You admitted?
I admitted it.
Why?
Because at the time, that was the right thing to do. Now, I know it might sound mad because I'm saying at the time. It's like, wait, what are you trying to say? You trying to say you shouldn't have said it?
You know, that's exactly what I'm trying to say.
You don't think I should have said it?
I would have never said it. That's just me.
See, now this is a principle I've learned in life. Not all truth sets people free. It wasn't easy. I didn't like looking at him in the face. You know, you can imagine when he wants to be intimate, I don't want to. So that's when he started noticing, wait, hold on, something's different here. Yeah. Because I knew how to be submissive. I wasn't the kind of wife that would make her husband go without, you know. I would submit and give it. And obviously, you know, it's not that, oh, I didn't ever want to do it ever. I'm not trying to make it out like I just gave it to him. Yeah. But he's noticing I'm not really trying to be intimate. I'm not really trying to do anything. So I think that was when his alarm bells started going off. And he was like, something's up.
Did you consider leaving your husband for him? For your work husband?
You know what's funny? No.
You didn't consider leaving your work husband, but you wanted to continue cheating? Or correct me if I'm wrong, because if you didn't want to leave your husband, but you wanted to continue, you know, doing this, what was the plan? What were you trying to achieve here, I guess?
The truth is I didn't know what the plan was. I didn't know what the plan was. I genuinely thought, I think at the time I thought, okay, I could do this maybe once or twice and then get back to normal life. Like, I'm a youth pastor. I need to be preaching. Like, I can't be doing this. But it was just so tempting that I just genuinely thought, I could do this quietly, you know, because I've gotten this far. No one's clocked anything. Not even our work friends have clocked, remember? So I'd never fathomed the thought of leaving my husband, because you don't do that in our culture, in our community. You don't leave. So that was never a question. So that was when I'm finding myself in this between a rock and a hard place, you know, and I'm just making bad decisions over and over again. But I'm just trying to alleviate this feeling of discomfort that I've made this decision in this marriage and I feel like it was the wrong one.
So you were willing to stay in this unhappy marriage for the rest of your life because of culture?
Yeah, I was willing to stay. Yeah. And honestly, I think if I did, I may have taken my own life.
Okay. That's deep. I wasn't expecting you to go there. Did you consider, what did you think was going to happen by you saying the truth?
What I'm going to say is going to sound really bad. I got to a point I needed relief. It was too much. The back and forth, he's asking me questions. I got to a point I was like, do you know what? Let me just tell him what's happened, because all the lying and hiding and sneaking, because it came in form of questions, you know. He clocked that I was using my Oyster card to tap in and tap out certain stations. So he's asked me, where were you on this day when I'd come home late from work? And I'd be like, oh.
What do you mean he saw your Oyster card? How did he see your Oyster card?
So I didn't know that basically. Okay, I used to use my bank card as my Oyster. I didn't know that on the TFO website, if you enter the bank details, you can actually see all the journeys that bank card has made.
So he entered your bank details in?
Yeah. It was interesting because he would always say, oh, my friend Blue saw you. My friend Blue. Blue was Oyster card.
Let's talk about the work husband. Obviously, this is a phrase that we hear all the time, and it's usually said in quite a jovial way. Oh, that's just my work husband. But girl, you actually consummated that work relationship and took it all the way there. So how did it go from an innocent, oh, he's just everything I'm not, he's a bit of fun, to you now being in an entanglement as a married woman with your work husband? Talk me through that.
It was the fastest slippery slope I've ever been on, ever. The time span is literally November and December. That's it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, because we met in September when I had finished mat leave, and nothing had been cultivated at first, you know, and then October half term kind of happened, and I remember thinking, I kind of miss work. But why do I miss work? I just miss this person. I made that relationship about him, but I should have made it about me. He was revealing what I was missing inside. He represented the parts of me that I had lost. So for example, I said I'm a dancer. I used to be in a dance group in my church. We stopped dancing after a while. And so you can imagine I've gotten married, I've become a mum. I've not danced for years. This guy, we go out as a group of us, he starts doing leg work. I'm seeing leg work for the first time. And I'm like, what's that? Like, I was introduced to Burna Boy. So it's not just music again and dancing again, it's also African music. And my ex is Caribbean. Do you get it? So again, I'm seeing parts of myself that I have not been in touch with for a long time, but I made it that he was so amazing. Rather than, no, this is revealing something missing inside of you. So now I'm going to look for what I'm missing in my life in this person, rather than finding that fulfillment in other places. Like, you know,
and is that because you were obviously at a huge deficit in your marriage?
Deficit.
Okay.
Deficit, yeah. I just felt like I'd gone so long without being noticed. And I remember there was one comment that, the guy made. And I remember we were walking and talking, and I was like, why are you looking at me like that? And he was like, I just want to take you somewhere and just watch the wind blow through your hair.
Wow.
Like, who says that? Has a man ever said that?
Don't you feel like because you're not getting that at home, everything that this man says is just heightened?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you think that he was actually saying sweet things, or you just weren't getting that at home?
Absolutely. It's a double-edged sword, I feel. I wasn't getting it at home, but he was also chatting sweet nothings because, I will be honest, when I started teaching, I was deemed as, oh my gosh, she's an attractive teacher. There was a lot of buzz around me at that school. So I think he just wanted to be a part of that buzz and just wanted to just get in there and have his piece, and again, I'm learning as well. Men, remember, I'd only been with my ex-husband, so I don't even know how men play the game. I don't know anything. So when this guy is speaking to me, I'm thinking, he's really in love with me. And looking back, and I'm like, he really wasn't. He was just trying to get a piece out of me, and he got it.
Was it just a one-time thing, or did you have like a full-blown affair?
Oh, what's full-blown though? Is full-blown a long period of time?
If it's like a couple times, then I think that quantifies it being an affair.
A couple times, yeah. It was a couple times because the first time was so bad. As in, sorry, as in, when I say bad, like, I just mean where my head was. So because I'm actually doing this act, I remember seeing his silhouette on top, and I remember thinking, what am I doing here? So I was not even in the frame of mind to now be doing sexy.
Okay,
I'm
so
not
then
there.
After the first time, and obviously you weren't in the mental space, when you went back the second time, did you think, I'm going to put it down now? I'm going to give him the real me?
Oh,
did you think that? Is that what you thought? He's like, I need to make up for the first time.
I hate to admit it, but yes.
Yeah, okay.
Because it didn't go well. And, when you're flirting and all the anticipation is building, it's growing. So then you finally get there and you're like, oh, I didn't actually really enjoy it. So now let me try again to see, and then the second time it was all right. Do you know what I mean? Then you try again and it was like, nah, this isn't going to work.
After the second time, the third time, did you start to feel like, I'm here, like, I don't care anymore?
It did get to that point. I think, and it's because when I did it the first time, the dust settled. Do you get it? I got away with it. That's the truth. I hate to say it, but I got away with it. So I remember thinking, oh, okay, cool. If I just do it a couple more times, I'll just get back to my normal life. That's genuinely what I thought I could do. And it just did not work that way. It was eating at my soul, but I was still going back to it because it was still so seductive to me. It was like forbidden fruit that I'm dying for. Because remember, I'm not getting that attention at home. So it's not like I'm going back to be like, oh, okay, we're all loved up, I'm okay again. It's not, there's still deficit here.
So obviously you were dragged online. People were saying you're for the streets and that you left your husband for Greg's. So obviously talk us through the story behind the Greg's. What happened? Why are people mentioning Greg's in relation to you cheating on your husband?
I mentioned on a previous podcast that he would buy me Greg's in the morning. He would call me and be like, what do you want? I make my request and he would get it for me. But people obviously just took it as, what? You left for Greg's? And it's like, no, this represented a person that was thinking about me at the start of their day. That's what I'm trying to say. And you'll be shocked how many married people can, wake up in the morning and their partner's not the first thing on their mind. There's this weird dance between individuality and being a couple when you're in a relationship.
Do you feel like it was easier to cheat, obviously because of everything that you were going through at home, but also because you had a very accessible person in this work husband? Do you think that made it easier?
Yeah.
So that being said, do you think that having work husbands and work wives is actually a dangerous thing?
Absolutely.
Why do you think that?
It's a slippery slope. It starts small because since that scenario, I'm so careful with the opposite gender now. So careful. And to even say someone's your work husband is crazy. Well, I would say if you're single, do your thing. But still, we even know what you're getting yourself into, because if that thing goes wrong and you still have to see that person at work every day, I've known people to leave workplaces because of stuff like that. I think it's dangerous. Absolutely. Just don't do it.
Do you still work there?
No.
Okay. And was he single or in a relationship, your work husband?
He was not single.
He was not single. So he also cheated. When people say they have work husbands and work wives, and they're in relationships, you're basically, it's not innocent.
It's not innocent.
Okay.
I feel like you know exactly what you're doing. If you're in a relationship, why is someone else your work husband or work wife? Why?
Yeah. Was that something that you thought about?
No, I never declared him as my work husband
Okay.
at the time because we kept it hidden because we both knew that it was wrong. So the friendship group that we made at that school, didn't even tell them.
Okay.
It was literally our own little secret. So you can imagine the thrill that came with it being secret, you know? And then after it just gets ugly and then you have to still work together and it just went pear-shaped.
You were conscious from the very beginning that this was cheating, even before you had sex.
Yeah, I was conscious that I was stepping out, but I wasn't conscious of what was going on inside of me. And all of my brokenness that even led me here. Now, when I say that, because sometimes I hear people say, oh, don't do something wrong and then blame mental health. And I understand that perspective because it's like, nah, don't try and find a way to cover this.
So when were you first aware that what I'm doing is cheating?
The first time I became aware was when I kissed him.
Okay. So prior to you kissing him, what did you think you were doing?
It felt like just two people flirting and getting to know each other. But for me, it was like, well, as long as nothing physically has happened, then, you know, I can walk away from this, he can walk away from this scot-free, you know? And it was when the actual first bodily contact happened. I will never forget that train journey home. I just remember just sitting there, just in shock, just like, I've done this.
When did you guys kiss?
Talk
me
point?
through that. Like, what did that look like?
Yeah, it was when he dropped me off to the train station. And I remember us walking, it was like dark, you know, it was like a little woody area. And as we're walking, he just turned to me and was just like, I just really want to kiss you, kind of thing. And I remember just standing there like, okay, and I let him do it. And yeah, I remember enjoying it. But as soon as I got on the train, I was like, what the hell have I done? What am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing? But
In
I like
that
it.
moment, was your husband in your mind?
Yes, but not in terms of, oh my gosh, why am I doing this to him? It was more like, oh my God, he better not find out about this because he'll lose it.
Did you want more kisses? Did you want it to go further at that point?
Yeah, because anticipation is growing, you know, and again, these are things I don't like to admit, but are the truth. You know, I'm not proud of it at all. I did want more because again, it was just so tempting. It was all the anticipation. You just start to imagine this person. And sometimes the truth is the anticipation or the imagination is better than the real thing, you know? And so I made this guy my everything. I just wanted him.
When you got home and you saw your husband that day, what was that like?
It was just silence in my mind. That's the only way I can put it. Because in order to continue, you have to start to avoid the situation. So I started to numb those feelings of guilt so that I could then continue. But the numbing was still killing me on the inside because let's be honest, you can't ignore an elephant, especially if it's pink and it's got polka dots. And that's exactly what the elephant looked like in my room, you know? So yeah, I tried to just suppress. But of course, I'd feel guilty when I'd see him, you know. But at the same time, the marriage wasn't thriving. So it wasn't like I'm going home to a man wanting to love me. You understand? I'm going home to a man that's tired, cranky, you know, all those kind of things.
Did your husband cheat on you?
As far as I know, no.
No. So talk to me about your marriage, like the day-to-day, the nitty-gritty of your marriage. Tell me about that.
We both had our brokenness. There was a lot of times I experienced domestic abuse in the house. Wow. I didn't recognize it as that until I learned it later on. It's not to blame him. You know, we're all broken, but his brokenness will cause him to be controlling. Now, I was the perfect person to control because I had learned that in childhood. So the dynamic was very much, he can do what he wants and does what he feels, while I submit, I clean up the mess, I do what I have to patch up any areas that look a bit funny. And I grew up in a Ugandan community where sometimes people do keep up appearances. I'll give you an example. I remember there was a day when I had a little one, you know, she was a baby at the time. I'd not spoken to anyone the whole day. God, I feel myself getting emotional.
Take your time, babe.
God. I'd not spoken to anyone the whole day. Anyone who's a mum understands how isolating it can feel, even when you're married.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember he came home from work and I was like, can you hold the baby? And he was like, no, I'm tired. And I was like, I've not spoken to anyone all day. And for him, it was like, but you can sleep with the baby, as in when baby sleeps, you can sleep, you know, we're not the same level of tired. So it became a debate in that moment about who was more tired. And for him, it was, well, I go to work, therefore I'm more tired than you. And he proceeded to go to the bathroom and sit in there for half an hour on his phone. And I remember physically feeling my heart break. And I remember that was one of those moments where I was like, I'm at the mercy of you changing. And if you don't change, this is what it's going to be. You know, I could ask you to throw out the rubbish and you just won't do it because you just don't want to. And that's how it would be. I think one major moment of like cleaning up was, you know, we used to be youth pastors and there was a point we had a structure where we would take turns to hold leadership meetings because we would do them every Tuesday. And this particular Tuesday was his turn. And I remember he came home, I heard the key turn and I was like, what are you doing home? You've got the leadership meeting, you need to go to Peckham. And I remember he just came and he was like, no, I'm not going, I'm tired. And I was like, but what about everybody else? They're making their way, they all live in different places. And he just didn't care. And I remember I then had to call everybody to cancel this meeting while he just sat on the sofa watching TV. You know, that's how it was. But I would clean it up. I'd learned to submit from a young age. So doing that now is normal.
What were the consequences when it was revealed that you had cheated? Take your time.
Thank you. The only way I can put it is hurt people hurt people. And if I was to sit and tell you everything that happened, that transpired after, you won't believe me. But what I can say is that was when the domestic abuse turned into domestic violence and it became physical. I felt like I deserved it. So I allowed myself to be a punching bag.
Can we get tissue, please?
This is what happens when you poke the bear. The bear's gonna scratch, it's gonna bite. Thank you. And I remember my ex-pastor asking me, you know, how do you feel? You know, like, how are you? I was like, I'm just in the boxing ring and I'm receiving all the punches. And he was like, what do you mean by that? But he didn't know what was going on because I covered it up. I just didn't really tell anyone. And it just went on and on. And I remember it was actually when I went to therapy that my counsellor was like, if you don't do something about this, I'm going to call the police for you because I'm worried about your life. Because he's angry with you, fair enough for reasons, but what's happening and transpiring, you shouldn't necessarily be taking. So I've now learned that, okay, I deserve to face the consequences, but the consequences didn't have to be my body being touched.
First of all, I'm sorry that you had to go through that. That's horrible. Did you guys have a conversation about that after, as to, you know, like you said, he was angry, but did he ever apologize or speak about why he was doing that?
We both didn't have the emotional capacity to have those kind of conversations. So never once did he sit me down and say, babe, why? He never did that. It was war. And I remember, you know, I won't even say what his profession is actually, but he's good with words sometimes. So like he would say, this is like an empire and you've burned down my kingdom. And I remember standing in the house, he was shouting and I was like, I burnt it down from setting myself alight. Do you not realize I'm dead? Like, I'm a corpse. I know you can't physically see the morbid image, but that is what I am right now. I'm dead. Like, you've not looked at me. You've not, nothing. I've been here working. Do you know what I mean? Trying. And friends could see we weren't okay. His mum could see we weren't okay.
What was the reaction from your friends and family?
It was bad.
How so?
It was bad. They were angry.
With you?
Yeah. I've built this life where I'm on a pedestal. I'm a youth pastor, I'm a teacher. Yeah, I'm the golden child. I'm the first to have gotten married out of my siblings. You know, so to my mum, it was like, Lois is set, she's married, she's this, da, 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 she's got her family, kingdom family, you know, nobody really knew the ins and outs. So people let me know what they thought.
Oh, really?
Yeah, people let me know. People were angry.
What were the kind of things that people would say to you when they found out?
I mean, it was obviously my ex-husband that would say the worst things, like I'm a witch, or, you know, no, actually, no. One of my boys, I was told, said I was a witch, or she must have a demon in her to have done what she did, or I'm for the streets, I'm a whore, homewrecker, you know, all sorts of labels that were given to me. They stopped seeing me as a human being. I was supposed to remain perfect. How dare you step off your post? We put you on this pedestal. Guess what? You stay there. You know? So it's like, how dare you get down and tarnish your name? Like, why would you do this? But at the same time, I understand their anger because remember, I've lied to everybody. Nobody even had a clue. So this has come out and it's like, what?
Do you think that the treatment you got was worse because you're a woman who has cheated on her husband? Because let's be real, men are cheating every day. I'm not saying women don't cheat, but do you feel as though that the judgment you received was harsher because you're a wife who has cheated on her husband?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I think even the way media, you know, as in growing up, you always watch stories of like the man is the cheat, the man is cheat. So it's like society has prepared us for the idea of a man cheating, you know, but the idea of a woman cheating, what do you mean? Like, why? You know, I could never had a possible reason to do it. You know, life was fine enough to, you know, so definitely there was a lot of stigma around the fact that I was a woman and I cheated. But over time, people then began to give me a chance and want to hear it because they could see that his brokenness was causing him to perpetuate the pain.
Did you tell people that you were experiencing domestic violence?
I eventually did.
Okay. And what did people say in regards to that, your friends and family?
The Ugandan community is weird because, let me not say it's weird, it's complicated. When you grow up in a shame-based culture, remember, you can go and present information to someone and they do nothing. Like, they just hear the information and that's it. But at the same time, I didn't tell some people that maybe I should have, like my dad. And my dad isn't here anymore. And I'm like, that's one of the biggest regrets. Not, like sometimes I think, what if I gave him an opportunity to be my dad and show up for me and be like, how dare you touch my daughter? But I genuinely felt like I deserved it so much, I didn't even tell him. And so by the time I've told someone who could do something about it, time had passed. It's unfortunate to say that at the point in which I did tell someone who could do something about it, my daughter had witnessed it as well.
Wow. Let me ask this. After you had cheated, your husband's found out. How long after that did you stay in the marriage?
It was January when everything came out and I left about April.
Okay. So he was hitting you for that all that time? Wow, okay. The domestic violence, was that linked to the infidelity or was that something that was happening prior to that?
It was linked to the infidelity, but there was like one particular argument that we had that made me think, oh, okay, the only way I could put it is like, okay, your head is there's a wire twisted somewhere. Yeah, just because of the way he went about dealing with that argument, basically. I know I haven't quite explained it.
Do you want to explain it or do you want to?
I can't explain how hard it is to even say because I've let go of shame, but to say it, sometimes I feel like when I say, then I'm presenting myself as damaged goods. You get it? Because if I say this is what someone did, they tampered with me in this way, then it's like, who would want to mess around with her? Do you know what I mean? So it's so hard to say.
You should definitely not feel like that, you know. At the end of the day, you've gone through something quite traumatic. It doesn't define you.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
not who you are. You shouldn't be like, oh, me speaking about my experience, it's like, oh, I'm damaged goods. We've all been through things. We're all quote unquote damaged goods. You know what I mean? So
I'm only going to give this example. There was one time we had an argument and he ripped my top and just began to stimulate me on my chest. Right.
was this the point where you thought, yeah, you're a bit...
That was when I was like, oh, okay, this is different. Like I didn't understand it. And I remember standing there going, what? And there was no response. It was like, you could do that and there would be no response. It was, yeah. And that was when I was like, okay, that was weird. I didn't understand it. But again, it was his brokenness coming forward, you know, him trying to just control the scenario and then me being in a position of submission. Looking back, I could have nipped certain things in the bud. You know, when I went to the appropriate people to help me, it was nipped in the bud. He never touched me again.
Obviously, I asked you before why you didn't leave and you said it wasn't an option. It wasn't something that you had thought about. But in hindsight, knowing everything that you know now, would you have left earlier?
I would have never gotten married in the first place. But because I have my little girl, I say that I would choose him over and over again because I would get her. I can't imagine my life without her now. I would choose him in every lifetime just to have her.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah. What does co-parenting look like now after infidelity?
It's hard. It's hard because there's still a lot of pain there. But we're working at it. I think we've got a steady routine and it's working. And as long as there's not too much communication, it's fine. But I feel that we're at a point where we can both co-parent and it's fine. That we can see little one, and both of us see her on her birthday and it's fine. As long as that's the thing, as long as it's minimal.
Have you started dating again?
Oh gosh. I have.
How's that going?
It's a horror story out here, girl.
Girl.
What's going on?
Girl.
You didn't warn me.
I wasn't warned either.
Hey, it's not easy
cute out there, no. So when you start seeing someone, do you tell them you were married?
Yeah.
Do you tell them about this story?
I would tell people before, straight away. Okay. It was like a trauma response. Because I felt like, I don't want you to like me without knowing what I've done. Once you know what I've done and you still like me, then you really like me. So I would lead with that story, you know. And it was one of my friends that was like, girl, you know you don't need to start with that. It's okay. There's more to you. Now I bring it in at some point, but I do always bring it in. And it's funny because guys, I think, like we said earlier, because guys are known commonly to cheat, a lot of guys are like, oh, right, is it? Okay, so they feel like I relate to them. They feel like, they're so accepting of it. I think because...
Really?
Yeah, because every guy, you ask them, have you ever stepped out? Yeah. And usually the answer is yes at some point, whereas with a lot of females, you might be like, no, I've never stepped out.
Yeah.
But I always do everything I can to show them that I've learned my lesson. Because at the end of the day, guys' judgment might be quiet. And that's what I've realized as well. A guy might not say to me, but even him not choosing me could be that judgment. Yeah. That, I don't know about this one.
Do you have any advice for anybody that's struggling in their marriage and is, on the verge of committing adultery or has committed adultery?
Don't cheat. Don't step out. Don't do it. You will not find what you think you're looking for. I would encourage people to be introspective. First, search your heart. What is going on? Before we close the interview, what are your next steps? What are you doing with yourself? How can we see more of you? Tell us, who is Lois? What's she doing? What does she want to do? What does she want to pursue? I'm actually going to be doing a course in September.
Okay, nice. What's the course in?
The course is in psychology and neuroscience and mental health.
Oh, check you out.
Yes, girl. So I've done the youth pastoring, the teaching, and I feel like therapy is where I'm meant to be.
Thank you guys for watching Off the Record. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I have been your host, Mide, the one and only. Take care, guys. Until next time. Bye.